Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome in, everyone, to today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jac Milham, joined on the other side of this screen by Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, we talked about, all this stuff about if you're going to win any game of the week, it has to be Sunday's game. Well, the Royals said, hold my hot dog and watch this. And holy shit, for lack of better terms.
It's a good theory, I think. But in practice, since I have to write about the Friday and Saturday games, I would rather they won if they were going to do it go ahead and just win those games and make it so I don't have to be miserable while I'm watching these games to write about them.
That's true.
Of course, my parents were like, the Royals won on Friday and Saturday. Isn't that so exciting? And I'm like, it just doesn't matter. I don't care anymore. So maybe we should do the Sundays for the people who do, it affects their week and all this stuff. And they're still watching every Sunday because I was not watching yesterday.
Yeah.
What I was watching was that Jac home run on repeat. And that's all I watched from yesterday's game. That's all I needed to watch. Thanks.
That's why we got highlights in the year 2026, baby. We got condensed games on MLB.com. We got the recaps that are like 3 minutes long. I'm a happy guy.
I'm old enough to remember, Jacob, back in the day. So I grew up in Kansas City, and I could watch a lot of the games in Kansas City. That was great. Could listen to the games in Kansas City. But back in the day, back when I was a kid, if I left Kansas City, say to go visit my grandparents in North Carolina, I can't watch the game. I can't I can't follow the game at all. And so my only hope was I could turn on ESPN at like 10 o'clock and watch Sports Center, and I could watch the ticker to see if the Royals won. And then I would hope that on Sports Center or Baseball Tonight that the Royals did something worth highlighting. And usually they didn't. ESPN very rarely showed me anything. So now it's like, Jac hit a home run. Man, that's on. You can watch the replay on MLB.com. It's all over social media. You can watch that you can watch it on StatCast. You can watch it over and over and over. And you can sit there and just marvel at how dang loud the ball is when it hits his bat, baby.
Yep, Jac Caglianone is really blossoming here after, I would say since the start of June. It's safe to say he has been a star for the Royals. But we do have to talk a little bit about that San Diego Padres series and move on to the San Francisco Giants. But before we do, let's put a nice little bow on things draft related, recap where the Royals currently stand according to public information, and we'll talk a little bit about trade deadline, including what I would call incredulous trade idea from a former MLB general manager. But before we get too deep into it, a reminder as always, if you like what we do here, just talking about the Royals, try to have fun, try to have a nice little conversation, make sure you follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to us at. Or you can find every episode up on royalsreview.com alongside with all of the great work from the team over there, the game threads, the game recaps, news every single day, and a little bit of commentary and a little bit of history sprinkled in there over at royalsreview.com. So, Jeremy, Royals, hey, they got the series win over the visiting San Diego Padres. They snatched victory from the jaws of defeat after putting the victory in the jaws of defeat on Friday is the way that I would describe that, right?
I wrote 3 recaps for that game, Jacob.
That was such a roller coaster, man. It really was. We got the good old fashioned Sarah Lang's wee afterward.
I was at 4 recaps because when they were still tied and they went to the bullpens, I was like, all right, the Royals are going to lose. So I wrote a losing recap. And then the Royals took the lead going into the 9th inning. So I wrote a winning recap. Then they lost the lead. And I didn't even wait for the bottom of the 9th. I didn't. They were tied. in the going into the bottom of the ninth. I didn't even wait to see if they could take the lead and walk it off. I didn't wait for the 10th inning, certainly. I just immediately started writing the losing again. And then when I left that there until Carter Jensen's single came home. And then I was like, all right, I guess I got to write another winning recap.
Yeah, that had to have been a very frustrating but overall enjoyable game to be in the stands for. But, they got a pretty thorough win on Saturday, I would say, before absolutely getting the shit kicked out of them on Sunday to close things out. 19-2. 19-2, Jeremy. It's insane. Granted, a lot of those were Tyler Tolbert. A lot of
I was
those
gonna
runs
say,
were
maybe it'll calm down. The Tyler Tolbert should actually be a reliever discussions that we've seen.
Oh, no. Now I've just seen more Jac Caglianone should be a reliever discussions. I'm like, yeah, you could miss
Tell
me
you
with
what.
that.
Tell you what, let's give Jac 2 seasons of 120 WRC plus, 30 plus homers back to back, and then we could talk about giving him some bullpen time.
Yeah.
Let's get him good at the one thing that's really going to help the team, and then we can let him try the other thing. I'm not opposed to a two-way Jac. One of the things I thought, it would be great if he actually did go two-way coming out of the draft, but yeah, the bat is more important than the relief pitcher. He's not going to be a big league starting pitcher the way things are. He would have to go back to the minors and spend a year or two just refining his pitching craft. He was not good enough coming out of college to just dump into a big league rotation. But if he can give us a couple years of really high quality hitting and work on his pitching kind of in the meantime, maybe we can see what he could do in the bullpen a little bit. I also don't want a situation where, oops, Jac hurt his elbow and now he's not hitting either.
Yeah, and we have seen what the lineup looks like with Jac Caglianone hitting. His 919 OPS since the beginning of June is tied for the 4th best in the entire American League. He's now leading the team with 16 home runs this season. Like, he is still within, firing distance of that career year that we had hoped for him this year. I know a lot of folks were looking at, well, hey, if he can get that 30 home run century mark for RBI, that is the year we need to see. Honestly, if he turns a slow start into 22 plus home runs and he's got this 120 WRC plus, I would absolutely take that in a heartbeat from Cags.
I don't think 30 home runs is off the table right now.
60 games left, 14 home runs. It's not off the table. I don't know what his pace has been since the beginning of June. I mean, I imagine that if you took it just since the beginning of June, you could say, yeah, he's absolutely on pace for 30 plus home runs. I'm not going to expect that of him, though.
He's on pace. If you took just from June, he would be on pace for 40 over a full season.
Woo!
11 in 40 games. So
good night.
Yeah, and that
Nice.
He's add in 8 doubles and 1 triple on there. That's what, multiply 20 times 4. That's 80 extra base hits would be his pace.
Yeah, that's insane.
Pretty solid.
He's also on a 10-game hit streak.
Yeah,
which is
it's kind of been like a weird hit streak because it kind of just started real slow after kind of an extended slump. And it was a bunch of singles, like one for 6 with a double, 1 for 4 with a double. He hasn't walked a single time during this hitting streak. But, when you put 10 games together where you get a hit and you torch a couple homers, a few doubles. I mean, 5 of the 8 doubles over the last 40 games have actually come in the last 10, plus 2 of the home runs. So that he's added so much in terms of power. It gives him a 545 slug, a 250 ISO that, is working. It's absolutely working for him right now.
That is impressive.
Other guys,
stuff.
they got to get the 3 hit games to get that OPS up there in the WRC plus. But Jack says, well, see, it's the total bases, you see, not the hits.
Oh, that's that college education from Florida coming into play.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of guys hitting home runs, congratulations to Salvi for getting his 315th career home run on Saturday against the Padres. Now only 2 home runs shy of matching Hall of Famer George Brett for the Royals' all-time record, 3 away from taking it. I think he's still absolutely on pace for getting to that 318 mark this season, but man, it has still been a slog for the Venezuelan.
I would like him to just go ahead and do that this week. Just knock that out while he's facing the Giants at Kauffman, and then get traded to the Yankees.
My
Become
gosh,
their problem.
don't say that. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Goodness gracious. I do not need to see Salvador Perez in a Yankees uniform.
Can you imagine what the Yankees culture would do with a Salvador Perez?
I don't know. Could you imagine the fan base's reaction to that
Yeah.
trade? Like, come on.
I mean, all I'm saying is the Yankees gave up real prospects for Ryan McMahon last year, and if they want to give us something real for Salvador Perez,
No. I have 4 untouchable players at the trade deadline, and Salvi's one of them. If
but
the team
Michael is
is
not.
Michael is not. If you're going to be bad, keep the guy in the Royals uniform.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. We all talk about this stuff about players not sticking on the same team, not showing loyalty. Okay, Salvador Perez, we have this guy here who if he gets the record this season, I hope and pray he's retiring. I hope and pray that this
He's
is
gonna
it.
get the record this season, barring an injury, because he still starts every day and bats sixth every day, despite being the least valuable position player in all of baseball.
Correct. As a designated hitter primarily. But I wanted to get the record.
We're carrying 3 catchers so that Salvador Perez could be the everyday DH because he can't catch because he's hurt.
Yep. I wanted to get the record though, and then I want him to retire, and then I want him to be fondly remembered as always being a Kansas City Royal. That's where I'm at.
If he's still Royal and I don't really super care if he retires. If he can be healthy next year and he comes in as, I'm the backup catcher, all I do is catch once or twice a week. And maybe designated to hit once a week. I'm not every day. I'm batting 8th and I'm playing 2 or 3 times a week tops. If the Royals give him that and he says okay, then I'm fine with that. Because he's not without talent. You know, when he can be behind the plate, he can still throw a guy out. He could still slug a home run. Salvador Perez is Luke Maile.
Yes, correct.
I'm not like, Luke Maile's so much better than Salvador Perez, please retire. That's where I'm coming from, I guess. Unless they wanted to, give Luca Tresh a shot, and I don't actually know how he's done since we gave up on ever seeing him.
Yeah, I think they've given up on Luca Tresh, but what do I know?
Yeah, he went into a big slump. He's back hitting under 100 WRC plus now for the season. So
Tyler Cropley days. Remember that name?
Yes, I remember actually donating. There was this website, I think you told me about it, that would like make a plaque for guys to congratulate them for making the big leagues, and I donated to that. And I don't know if I don't think he ever got the money to make that plaque.
Yikes.
Which is a bummer because, man, I was happy for Tyler Cropley.
Yeah. I mean, he was a local kid from Iowa, and he had those literally a cup of coffee. He had 2 games and 6 ABs in the majors. That is it.
Hey, 6 ABs. He's no Moonlight Graham. Was it
he's
Moonlight
not.
that came up and had no ABs?
Yeah. That was I read a pretty detailed book all about him. He had a very interesting life outside of baseball. But I digress. So all this trade talk, we will talk a little bit about the trade deadline later on in this episode. Some other big takeaways that happened during the Padres series, not, on the field. We had big news. Bobby Witt Jr. was not in Sunday's lineup, Sunday's lineup. It was he started experiencing the tightness on Saturday. missed Sunday, and he's back in Monday's lineup, so that
And
is
he's the
good.
shortstop because Salvi's already got DH covered, so he can't
Down.
DH.
Absolutely locked down there, Salvi. Thank you so much. But I mean, a little bit of back tightness, not the first time we've seen this from Bobby Witt Jr. I'm not too terribly concerned about it, especially, but I know a lot of folks are just like, we just had the All-Star break. How is it already tight?
Well, he wasn't doing much during the All-Star break. He took a couple days off, and sometimes you just sleep funny and your back tightens up on you, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. I would be much more concerned if it was a recurrence of the knee issues from earlier this year, or if the issues earlier this year had been back issues. It's like, just one of those things.
Yeah, exactly. One that I am a little bit worried about is Stephen Kolek, who came out early from his rehab start on July 18th with a right flexor strain. Landed on the IL on the 19th. It was a little weird. We had a little bit of insight into it, but basically Kolek called for the pitching coach, and then the pitching coach called for the trainer, and it was a long process of him actually coming out of the game. He's supposed to get more imaging on Monday to see how bad it is and determine next steps, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Kolek again in 2026.
Possibly in 2027.
Yeah, if it's that serious.
The right flexor forearm strain is commonly a precursor to Tommy John surgery. I believe that's actually what Ryan Bergert dealt with last year before, he took the offseason off and thought he could come back, and he couldn't. So, yeah, it's a problem. And, it's funny because it didn't even occur to me until I was listening to Kaufman Corner this morning, but Seren Petro wondered if the Royals got more damaged goods from the Padres. Both their guys get the right flexor strain, and I think that's just pitchers. Like, I also saw some people who were concerned with Taylor Rabe because he'd already had Tommy John surgery. Tyler John surgery? Because he's Tyler Rabe? I don't know. And I'm like, if you go look, like, all the pitchers have the surgery now. Everybody gets Tommy John surgery. And I could go into the math of why that's true and the physics of why that's true. Kind of the biology, not really, but the thing is, you throw hard, it puts a strain on your elbow ligaments, and you can strengthen a muscle. You cannot strengthen a ligament. So until they figure out how to create prosthetic ligaments that are just as good as the ligaments you're born with, or, better than the ligaments you're born with, obviously, then this is going to continue to be a thing. Or either that, or pitchers have to have like a max speed they can throw, or pitchers have to, I saw it was Effectively Wild talked to a biomechanics guy who did a study that basically showed that kind of throwing with a lower arm slot, sidearm submarine, is less strain on the elbow. So you throw slower and you throw sidearm submarine. That's one of the reasons guys like Tyler Rogers and John Schreiber are able to pitch as often as they do, is because they throw from those arm slots. I mean, it's also one of the reasons guys who go through a lot of arm injuries end up throwing from that arm slot. So there are things they could do. This whole idea of forcing, now I'm often, I've gone into who knows where. I've driven off a cliff here.
Keep going.
It's one of those reasons that whenever I hear people be like, we're going to fix starting pitching injuries by saying you have to go 6 innings. Well, they're not going to stop throwing 100 miles an hour unless you make a rule that says you can't throw 100 miles an hour. No matter what else you do around it, they're just not gonna, because as Greg Holland once, he did an interview Greg Holland did with somebody. I think it was probably Seren, actually, come to think of it, where, Seren asked him, do you ever think about, trying to hold back a little bit? He's like, getting big league hitters out is hard. I can't hold back, or I don't know if I'm going to get them out. So the long, long, long road to the short thought of pitchers get hurt. And in the case of trading for the guys that they got in 2017, there was some thought that maybe the starting pitcher, I cannot remember his name right now, was hurt before the Royals got him and just wasn't disclosed. In this case, Bergert and Kolek were clearly not injured before the Royals got them. It's just the nature of pitching.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Just to get us back on track here, yeah, I I will say that looking a year since that trade happened, I still don't think that like there's a clear winner or loser on either
I
side
still
of
think
this.
I still think the Royals are winners. I mean, Freddie is a backup catcher. He is.
Yes, and
And the
he is
Royals got
performing
2
like one
starting
right now.
pitchers who maybe miss this season and next, but they still have team control after that, and they could be good after that. And Cole Reagans is not the common story. The guy who gets the 3 Tommy John surgeries is not the norm. So just because almost everyone gets one, that's the norm. So you got 2, I think, at least back end, possibly more when they're healthy, starting pitchers for a backup catcher. That's a win for the Royals in my book.
Okay, there you go. Speaking of Tommy John, a guy who was central in Sunday's blowout loss, who has also undergone Tommy John, Noah Cameron. He underwent the surgery back in 2020, but we're more focused on what he's doing in 2026 right now. Earlier on this season, Jeremy, he looked like he was turning that corner. He looked like he was going to be a reliable guy in the Royals rotation. But get this, since his last quality start, which was nearly 2 months ago now, back on June 7th. He's had 7 starts, and in those 7 starts, he has a nearly 8 ERA, a FIP north of 6, 52 hits in 35 innings, 17 walks, and 29 strikeouts. He is back to looking like a guy who does not belong on a major league mound. Something is not quite right with the southpaw, and I think that he is going to get more opportunities to try and figure it out on the major league mound because really, Royals don't have any other options waiting in Omaha. Do you have any thoughts on Cameron's recent performance, Jeremy?
Yeah, I was actually looking at Cameron on TJ Stats using the pitching summary tools over there because it was a period of about 5 or 6 starts there in May and the first couple in June that I was like, not only does Noah Cameron look like he's back from the early season slump, Noah Cameron looks like he's pitching better than he did at any point last year. He was getting swing and miss. He was getting strikeouts. He wasn't walking guys. And I was like, we might see Noah Cameron actually evolving to become like a number 2 pitcher instead of a 3, 4, 5. And that hasn't happened. And so I was trying to figure out what's going on, what's wrong, what's broken. And I don't really have any answers. I didn't get to spend a lot of time on it because it's kind of just something I was doing on my break. But I did notice that his curveball since that stretch has lost like 100 RPMs, which is pretty significant. And that's one of his biggest weapons. I also noticed that his sinker sucks. He should trash the sinker.
Should, yeah.
And one of the reasons he was pitching better during that stretch was actually that his fastball was doing well. He might want to just trash the fastball too, the four-seamer, or at least throw it way less often. I think he could get by with primary cutter because that cutter is a much better pitch. So obviously the Royals are looking at all this stuff and working on it. This might be misguided, but I do have high hopes that based on the adjustments he made from last year to this year and in season this year, that he can, in another offseason, maybe refine some of the things that have worked and get rid of some of the things that haven't worked and come back and be a very effective pitcher next year. I don't know that we're going to see a good pitcher this year, unfortunately. I don't, because I couldn't, if I could look at it and be like, oh, well, there's the problem, then maybe it would be something that they could go, okay, just do this and it's fixed. But it's not a simple problem, whatever's going on with him. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of work to do. But I think the work we've seen over that stretch of 4, 5, 6 starts that a really good version of Noah Cameron exists where the peripherals are good, not just the ERA. And so I hope that he can find that again. We'll have to find out, I guess.
Hope so. I hope so. I think the biggest issue, and we saw this in 2025 when the starts would really spiral. We all know about the home run issues. The home run issues have still been present over the past 7 starts. Let's be clear about that. But one thing that I've noticed is he's not getting the fastball like in the shadow of the zone. He doesn't have that premium velocity, so he's got to locate it well. But we're over here looking at a guy with his four seam fastball who's in the 10th percentile for actually landing that thing in the zone. Like he needs to have better control or just command of that period. And he's shown it. So I know it's there, but something is definitely off with Cameron.
Yeah, both David Lesky and Craig Brown's write-ups of the weekend had a pitch chart for Cameron that showed way too many pitches right down the middle from yesterday. And yeah, with his stuff, that's gonna get hit. So yeah, what you're saying, again, that's kind of why I would maybe go more to the cutter and use that as a primary fastball, even against lefties, because it it's a better quality pitch. So you can get away with more with it. But he also throws it better. So locates it better. So I would the sinker's got to go. The fastball needs to be diminished, I think, and he's got to figure out what the heck happened to his curveball.
Yeah, that part. But
Though
we'll see.
that makes me think of the fact that Luinder Avila's curveball has been awful this year, and he's also a curveball guy. And Seth Lugo's curveball hasn't been as good this year. Are curveballs not working in 2026?
Might not be.
Is the
They might
oily
not be.
ball?
Yep,
Is the oily ball screwing up the curveball?
could very well be. Need a little bit more research before I say definitively on that.
So
But
let's
that
get some
is
of that
something worth
spider
looking at.
tack and see if that
Yeah,
fixes the curveballs.
I'd be down for that. Hey, speaking of Royals pitchers, it wasn't a banner pitching performance on Sunday, but I don't want that to overshadow a banner pitching performance down on the farm. High A Quad Cities, the Royals' top prospect, Kendra Churio, going 5 innings in a 9-inning no-hit affair. Churio, he had just 2 walks. He had 10 strikeouts, tying his career high. And so far, he has 16 starts this season between high A and low A. He's got a 2.11 ERA. That ranks 5th in all of minor league baseball among qualified pitchers. Now, let's not forget about Emmanuel Reyes, who is, not on the prospect level as Churio, but he got a 4-inning save with 3 strikeouts, and he also leads the Midwest League with 82 and 2/3 innings pitched and is having a very solid season in his own right. This was the River Bandits' first no-hitter since 2021, which was also against the what are the Rat I think it's the Wisconsin Rattlers. I'm not sure.
Something like they're Milwaukee's farm team. That's all I could tell
Yeah,
you while I'm looking at Fangraphs.
yeah. But overall, get this, Jeremy. So one of the many outlets that I pay for to try and like get some data and get some insight to other organizations is Baseball America, and they have their prospect hot sheet that comes out every day. And of the 11 prospects featured, 4 of them were Royals prospects. So that is an interesting
Churio,
spot.
Gomez, and who?
Furio, Gomez, Hammond, and Mitchell. Hammond was number
Mitchell.
2 behind. Yeah, number 2 was Hammond, and then you had to scroll down a little bit to get to Blake Mitchell, who is currently on a 10-game hitting streak right now, batting .381, slugging .810 in July. That strikeout rate is down to 25%, which is a lot better for him. But this weekend, he batted .500, had 6 runs scored, 2 doubles, a home run, 4 RBI, and 5 walks to 3 strikeouts. So a lot more to, and he caught the no hitter. So that's it's a little bit better
I'm
from
ready
him.
to see him in Double-A. I think I'm honestly ready to see Churio in Double-A.
So
You could give him a few more starts, but I'm looking at the numbers at Fangraphs. 5 starts in Double-A or in A+, Paul. 31 strikeouts to 5 walks in 24 2/3 innings, 14 hits. That means he's got a sub-1 whip and a nearly 10 strikeouts per 9. I mean, what else is he going to prove to us? Pitching, this is kind of what we were saying about Jack last year. It's like Well, yeah, no one's even close to competing with him. Might as well send him up a level and see if someone else can challenge him.
I do want to point out something that I saw from another guy I respect out there covering prospects, Alex Duvall. Alex brought up a good point about should the Royals consider shutting down Churio or start limiting his workload, because we gotta remember, he's put on a lot more velocity. He's still a very young prospect, has a lot of professional innings to his name over the past 2 seasons. And I think unless you really want to see him get like 3 starts in Double A, then you would consider, start bringing his workload down a little bit as the season wraps up. I don't know, something to chew on, but he definitely doesn't have much more to prove at high A.
Even with only 5 starts, yeah. I will say he's never thrown more than 6 innings in a start. The last start was 5. The one before that was 3. So, it's not like he's pitching an excessive number of innings. They don't have pitch counts on here, so I don't know what's going on there, but I'm not too concerned about his workload right now, honestly. We'll see.
Hey, it's one of those things where we're talking about those pitching injuries are getting harder and harder to avoid. Well, do you want to lose a year of Churio and possibly lose out on this premium prospect to injury? So I don't know. It's something to chew on. I don't know if I would say yes or no to that idea, but definitely something I was mulling over. Also, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna agree with you, yeah.
Oh, okay. Also to shout out Josh Hammond, who had an excellent weekend, batting 714 for the Columbia Fireflies. Yeah, had a 5-for-5 Saturday, man.
I guess Zion Rose was watching him because he kinda misspoke a little bit during his in-game interview saying, you missed 3 out of 10 times and that's still a success. That's success to Hammond, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. 4 doubles in that span as well. No home runs, no RBI. That's
Never mind.
A-okay.
He's a bust.
Goodness gracious. Hey, listen, he between him and Gamble, which to Gamble's credit, he has really turned things around over the past month or so.
I tried to tell you.
Yep, you did. You did. Man, that start to the season was so bad though.
I mean, the season numbers are still awful because of how bad the start was.
Yeah, but he has looked at least competent at the plate.
Yeah.
Hammond is on a whole nother level right now. Like I think he would be the top Royals prospect if not for Churio. That's where I'm
Would
at.
be.
Another guy who might be pushing for the Royals' top prospect spot, and Anibal Gomez, who
Yeah.
showed out in the Dominican Summer
Gomez,
League. Also,
I mentioned earlier that you were saying was one of the top 4 guys that they were talking about. Yeah.
yep, he showed out in the Dominican League All-Star game, and his only 2 at bats, but he had a sharp single and then a double to left field, excuse me. Exit velocity 108 as a 17-year-old down there in the DSL. Yeah. Baseball America calls him the best prospect in the Dominican Summer League, which, that is still miles away from the majors, but
But
it matters.
it was a Kaufman Corner. I can't remember which one of them said it. That one scout he talked to thought Gomez might be a top 15 in the MLB prospect next year. Like, that's how good he is. That's how talented he is. And he's showing out in the DSL. Hopefully he gets promoted to maybe he can follow a little of a Churio route and get himself onto stateside and then maybe into A-ball before the end of the year.
That would be very, very aggressive for him. Only 28 games so far in the Dominican Summer League, but 6 home run and then 10 stolen bases. He's walking more than he's striking out. And then also a weighted runs created plus of 153. So he is really putting in the work down there in the Dominican Republic. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on for the Kansas City Royals. All right, Jeremy, do we even want to give this Jim Bowden trade idea any oxygen?
I think it's worth talking about. I don't think it's a realistic trade, but it's something worth considering. I wouldn't do the trade, but we could talk about that in a second.
Well, so here's the trade. And I saw it on social media first.
This
Oh,
is
what's
this is I think one of those trades where the Cubs hate it and the Royals hate it, and I think that's hilarious.
yeah. Oh yeah, no one likes this trade idea. So, over at The Athletic, Jim Bowden put together 5 trades that he wants to see happen before the trade deadline, and his number 4 idea was sending Michael Wacha to the Chicago Cubs in exchange for utility man Matt Shaw and outfielder Kelvin Alcantara. Both
Kevin.
Say again?
Kevin. Just
I
Kevin.
said Kelvin, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, sorry about that. Kevin
It's all right.
Alcantara.
There's
Both
an
very
L in
young.
his name somewhere.
Yes, I just put it in exactly the wrong spot.
That's how that song goes, right? There's an L somewhere.
I don't
5
know
o'clock
that song.
somewhere. It's a
Jeez.
bad joke. We're moving on.
Boo. That's why I said when I saw this trade, not because like I don't want the Royals to make this trade. I think that this would be a solid move to move off of Wacha, but when I put together a trade idea, I think it's somewhat realistic. This is not realistic at all. And that's
I
frustrating.
can't see the Cubs doing that trade. Alcantara, some of the prospect shine has come off. Both of those guys, honestly, the prospect shine has come off of them a little bit. But they're still really young. And the prospect shine, I think, comes off them just because they've been prospects for so long.
Yeah.
It's not because they're bad. The reason I don't want to do the trade is because I don't like Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw
Yeah, fair
decided last year that he was going to make, let's be clear, most baseball players have conservative politics. It's just the facts. But Matt Shaw decided last year that he was going to put his conservative politics over his team being in a playoff hunt and took a game off to attend Charlie Kirk's funeral. So that's a guy that I don't need in my clubhouse. I need a guy who, like, I don't want to hear about your politics if you're going to be like this. And I certainly don't want you taking time off to go be at some stranger's funeral. The random rumors of flirting with the widow. I don't know if that's just people being stupid or what. But like, dude, we need you playing baseball games. What are you doing?
Overall, I wouldn't worry about this too much from a Royals perspective. I don't think this is going to come to fruition.
I saw in the comments of the article, someone tried to create a comparable trade to get Wacha to Atlanta. An Atlanta fan wanted Wacha, which, hey, I love it that other teams want our guy and then get me all them prospects. But yeah, I figure it out. Wacha should be traded. And good news is that in the last interview I saw with JJ Piccolo, he did seem more open to trading Michael Wacha than prior. And like, listen, I get it when the guy says he doesn't want to have to find more starting pitchers for next year. But I said I was going to say it every podcast until the trade deadline, and this is a podcast until the trade deadline. Even if you have Michael Wacha for next year, doesn't mean you don't need to find a starting pitcher to replace him.
Yeah, because I mean, where we're at right now, we're looking at what Lugo, Wacha, Cameron, Avila, and then still like we might be looking for a number 5 guy because Kolek, Berger, don't. Please don't.
Reagan's, Kolek, and Berger will all still be on the injured list. Most likely, we don't know for sure about Kolek, but probably Reagan's and Berger will be.
Yes,
Bubic
might
not be in the organization. They might re-sign him. I don't know. We'll see. If they do re-sign him, they might put him in the bullpen.
Yeah, they might learn their lesson and just keep him in the bullpen this go around.
And Avila needs to be out of the rotation too.
Yeah, he does. So
it's like, yeah, you don't want to trade Wacha and Lugo because then you got to get a whole rotation. But I got to tell you guys, I don't know if those two are successful next year anyway.
Right.
I think you might just need a whole new rotation.
And here's the thing. It's not like this is a rotation of homegrown guys. The Royals have gone out and acquired other guys to fill out the rotation, to fill out the bullpen.
There are a bunch of free agent pitchers that the Royals could play with in the offseason.
Yeah, sure.
Off the top of my head, Zac Gallen, Michael Soroka. I know there are more.
There's so many.
And none of them are stars. But again, Lugo and Wacha were not stars when the Royals signed them.
Right.
They were
right.
They were fine.
Well,
so
don't worry. We'll just have Mason Black join the rotation.
I mean, he probably needs to join the rotation this year. I heard they're stretching him out. They got to get somebody to pitch.
They do. They do. So we'll see what happens there. You can stay abreast of everything that's going on with the trade deadline, to include rumors, actual transactions, and so much more over at royalsreview.com. I think just to wrap up the trade deadline stuff, because I think that one thing that frustrated me so much about the idea that we're not going to trade Waka in the name of competing in 2027 is the fact of when you look at the Royals 26-man roster right now, and it's such a weak crop of guys who are realistically tradable, who have value, right? Like Lane Thomas, hey, he's been showing out. He's gonna have some value, but like that's it right now.
I got to tell you, Jacob, Lane Thomas he might be one of the most valuable trade chips on the market. I know that sounds like hyperbole, but I can't remember. It might have been Michael Baumann with MLB or I can never remember who Baumann writes for. I always get him confused with another
Fangraphs.
guy. Huh?
Fangraphs.
Fangraphs. There are no right-handed outfielders, none, and everybody needs them. I think there were 8 qualified right-handed MLB outfielders. Lane
Not a
Thomas
lot.
is extremely valuable. And that's before you get into the fact that he's actually been playing really well since Kyle Isbell got hurt, even against right-handers. So I think Lane Thomas could absolutely be a guy who brings back a really actually good. It could be like a Ben Zobrist, where you're like, is Ben Zobrist that good? Well, there ain't no one better. So actually, you got to give up a Sean Manaea if you want him, because everyone wants him.
Hey, I'll take a bid more. I'll take being on this end of a bid more.
Would you like if the Royals trade Lane Thomas for a 2026 version of 2015 Sean Manaea? You're happy about that, right?
Yeah,
You're
like I'm
ecstatic
over the
about that.
moon. I'm over the moon
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I think that's realistic in this case. And the A's also got Aaron Brooks in that trade, and the Royals could use 2015 Aaron Brooks to pitch some innings this year, honestly.
Hey, speaking of 2015 pitchers, welcome back Scott Alexander to the Royals
Oh
organization.
my gosh. And Aaron Bummer they just signed today.
Yeah, but
He's never been a Royal, but he always should have been.
should have been a Royal for like about 3 years. But here's the thing: the Royals are positioning themselves right now to start moving on from some of these relief guys, and they're looking at the calendar. Okay, we got 62 games left. We have X amount of innings left for the bullpen. Let's just start cobbling this together and put it to the test.
The Royals could maybe use 2026 Aaron Brooks in their rotation right now.
Hey, they're looking far and wide for
Have they
rotation
made the call?
help.
Drew Pomeranz just got cut.
Jeez.
They might want to look into him.
Maybe so. But we'll have more as the trade deadline approaches over at royalsreview.com and here on the podcast as well. All right, Jeremy, do you got a short review for us today?
Hang on, we didn't wrap up the draft.
I think it's because I'm disappointed.
The Royals have officially signed everyone for the first 18 rounds. They have not signed Hudson Devon, who was the big swing at 19, and they didn't sign the guy at 20, whose name I can't remember.
Riley McDonald.
They have a week left to do it as we're recording this. They have until 5 p.m. Eastern time on July 27th. And good news is that we were a little concerned Dominic Batista was going to take a big chunk of their remaining money that they had saved signing Zion Rose for $2 million under, but he only took a couple $100K extra. So unless other guys have signed over that we don't know about, because we don't have the dollars for everyone, Slydom took like $1.5 million more, something like that. They have about $400K to play with.
So
Go ahead.
I got the latest numbers here. So as of right now, the only two who remained unsigned are 19th and 20 round. They have a little more than 1.3 million right now to play with. So Devon should be,
And that does not include the 150K that they can put in that slot without counting against their bonuses.
correct. So they should be in play at least for Devon. I hope that they
You would
signed
think.
him. Yeah. So like guys, like I thought they were going to get more savings on Max Eel, the West Virginia left-handed pitcher, but he only took like a $2,500
Slot,
discount.
didn't he?
Yeah, pretty dang close. The guy who went over slot, who I was very surprised about, was Dylan Veig out of Georgia. He went $332,000 over slot down in the 7th round. He
Mm.
was, he was primarily a reliever. Nope, excuse me. He was a starter for the Bulldogs. Excuse me. Had a 4.43 ERA and 1.36 WHIP in his 2026 season for the Bulldogs. But I've heard good things about him. I was just surprised to see that he came in that far over slot. So we'll see if the Royals can get this across the finish line. I'm not too worried about McDonald. So here's the thing: McDonald is a JUCO player. He graduated high school in 2025, so he's basically an old prep player at this point. Very raw, just a relief player or just a relief pitcher, excuse me. Did not look too good for the Manatees at the State College of Florida, I think is where he played at. But yeah, I'm more worried
They
about
have a
Devon.
wild name. I don't remember the whole thing, but it's like 20 words or something.
It's a doozy. It's a doozy. But we'll keep everything. We got the draft tracker up there, allroyalsreview.com. So it's really just we'll see how
I,
Zion
I
Rose
was
pans
thinking
out.
I was thinking if they only had 400K, they had a shot at him. With $1.5 million, you'd think they'd be able to get him.
Maybe. But I mean, you saw how much Slydom was. Slydom came in at a little north of 3 million,
Yeah, but Slydom got drafted in the 3rd round.
right? But I mean, you got to remember Devon, he was a kind of a consensus top 200 guy. He's a prep pitcher. He might be willing to just go to Alabama and take his chances, especially with the upcoming draft changes. If as we're
The upcoming
wondering what they
draft
do.
changes could cost him money.
I mean, they could, but it's all a gamble. It's all a gamble. We'll see what
I
goes on
I
there.
would
I hope they
I
get him.
would sign for $1 million now. That's the gamble I would take every time. That reminds me of was watching a video about the Beast games. I was not watching the Beast games. And apparently at various points throughout the competition, you could take like $1 million and leave, or you could stay and play for 100 million or whatever the grand prize was. And I'm like, every time you offer that to me, I will take the 1 million. I think that was even one time they offered 10 million. Like, yeah, I will take the 10 million now instead of the 100 million in 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if I'm a high schooler and someone says, here's $1 million to come play professional baseball instead of going to school, and I know there's NIL stuff in school, but I don't think it's $1 million for a baseball player. And you run the risk of, sure, you could increase your draft stock by doing well in college. It's a bet on yourself. I would take the million and let
Okay.
the pros develop me instead of the college.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Thank you for reminding me to bring that around, Jeremy. Do you have a review today?
I do. So since we're recording this on a Monday afternoon, I took my Sunday night and I watched a film. I watched Mallrats.
Jeez.
So I'm a big fan of Silent Bob and Jay. I think they're hilarious. Clerks, one of my favorite comedy movies. And I saw that Mallrats was on Amazon and it was leaving soon. And I'm like, I feel like that's a sign to just watch it while I can, because it's one of those movies I've heard a lot about. What is that guy's name who's Silent Bob and directs them all? Kevin Smith. Let me, I think highly of Kevin Smith. Jay and Silent Bob are always hilarious. Dogma, also one of my favorite movies. It just doesn't feel like it fits with the rest of them, but it does. And so I'm like, let me watch some Mallrats. And I don't know where I got this idea, but I thought it was a bunch of kids hanging out at the mall after hours, like when they weren't supposed to be in the mall. But it was just a bunch of kids hanging out at the mall. And if I'd watched, this is what I put on social media. If I watched it 20 plus years ago, I think it would have hit very differently. A lot of those jokes don't land anymore, but the ones that do are still hilarious. Everything Jay and Silent Bob do is hilarious. Always.
Okay.
And then my favorite bit, though, you disagree with me? You don't like Jay and Silent Bob?
I'm not a super big fan.
You're wrong. That's okay.
Yeah.
I forgive you.
Thank you.
But my favorite bit was the sailboat gag. Do
Okay.
you remember the sailboat gag
I do.
from
I
that
do.
movie? Yeah, that was the best part of the movie, and you have to watch the whole movie for it to hit, 'cause it's the passage of time that makes it hit,
Yeah.
and, it does. It hits so hard, and I died. And then at the end, when they're like, "He finally saw the sailboat," and he's like, "Really?" That was I loved it. It was great. So, I can see the technical prowess, I can see the vision. It's just a little bit of product of its time. It doesn't really hold up. I can't recommend it, but for the sake of watching the film to just kind of understand where film has been, and especially where film was at, I think it's 1995.
It was 90s for sure.
Yeah, to understand where film was at that time, like if you like to study film, which I'm very amateur film studier, as a former actor myself, it's worth watching for that reason. It's not worth watching to be like, it's a really good movie. It's not anymore, but it was
But
once.
it's a good glimpse into that
Yeah.
era.
You can learn a lot about the 90s and filmmaking in the 90s, and just telling jokes. The art of telling a joke, even though a lot of the jokes aren't good jokes anymore, the way they're delivered is good.
Yes, that is very important. My review today is over a short novel that I just finished up. It's called The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. I have a weird niche. Like I loved Indiana Jones as a kid.
Yeah,
And so like that is
it's not a weird niche.
evolved.
There's a reason they keep making those movies.
Well, so like what the niche that I was gonna describe is like I love when like academics have adventures, I guess, is the thing that I like. And cartographers, they're folks who make maps. And so the idea is this is like I would describe it as like a thriller drama, I guess. There's a little bit of fantasy element to it, but it all ties into making maps and like some of the details and things like that. I thought it was okay. Like I don't regret reading it, but I'm not gonna go say like everyone out there needs to go and read this. It was a good story. I would think it was a good beach read for a nerdy person like me. So
Have
go check
Have
it
you
out.
seen The Librarians?
Yes, I really like the librarians.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
like, you should check that out.
The original trilogy with Noah Wyle, I remember having that on DVD when I was
Did you
younger.
watch the series?
Yeah.
Got it's still got Noah Wyle in it, but it's also got, what is his name? Christian Kane, and I love Christian Kane.
Yes. Yes, yes,
I would
yes.
watch most things that Christian Kane is in. I think it's got Rebecca Romaine in it too.
I think so. I think so.
And Rebecca Romaine, yeah, she's good looking. Yeah.
I can
She's also
concur.
a talented actress, let's be
Yes.
clear, but she's good looking.
Yeah. I do also suggest librarians. Both the movies and the TV show. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast. We appreciate you sticking around with us today. Make sure you go check out the website, royalsreview.com. Follow us on social media. Our links are down in the podcast description below. But most importantly, if you need to take a break from the Royals, take a break from the Royals. Go read a book, go watch a movie, go step outside, do something that you find fun amidst another losing season from your Kansas City Royals. I am Jacob Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, go Royals.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.